President Donald Trump just announced his tariffs that he will put on other countries. So the US announced a whole list of countries that will face the tariffs from the USA. In this video, we are going to discuss what impact it will have on the crypto industry on the short term, as well as on the longer term, meaning the rest of 2025. So without further ado, let's dive into the video. Hey everyone, what is going on? Welcome back here at Coin Compass. For those who are new here, my name is Quinten, and at Coin Compass you can find all kinds of crypto content going from macroeconomics to news coverage, FA and trading. So let's dive into the video. US is gonna put tariffs on other countries, and it's a whole list of countries that will face them. So let's have a look at the list of countries that will face these tariffs from the USA. So this is the first part of the list, and it's reciprocal tariffs, meaning if the country puts tariffs on the US, then the US will also put tariffs on them, on their goods and so on. One important thing to mention is there is a baseline of 10%. So if a country is putting some tariffs on the USA, it will face a minimum of 10%. So for the rest, it's actually half of that. So China puts 67% of tariffs, which also includes currency manipulation and trade barriers. So the US will do half of that, putting that back on China. So meaning 34%, more or less half of that. Actually, the whole list looks like this. European Union, 39% on the US, and the US will charge them 20% tariffs as well. So Vietnam, 90%, US will charge them 46%. And that is actually going on. It's a long list of countries. In total, 4 pages of lists of countries that will face these tariffs. And as you can see here and there, if a country is putting 10% on the US, they're charging 10% back. So in that case, it's not half of the tariffs that they're putting on the US. That is the meaning of reciprocal tariffs. They're doing it on the US is doing it back to them. One little note here as well is that I don't know the accuracy of these percentages that are calculated here. Because I saw a lot of people saying that this is far from the truth. I don't dare to say it. I didn't do enough digging into these numbers, what they're based on, how they're being calculated, what would potentially be the real percentage. But so don't blindly take them as the truth. I think we will see more information coming out in the coming days. Another important one here is the UK, 10%, and they charge 10% back. Now, 2 of them I want to point out because, of course, China is a big one. The trade war is not only with the European Union, but also with Mexico and Canada, who are not on the list, by the way, but I will go over that in just a minute. But especially China is also a victim of high tariffs. 34% on goods coming from China into the US. Now, a lot of businesses already relocated their factories from China to Vietnam and Cambodia. But Vietnam and Cambodia also are facing a very high amount of tariffs. 46% for Vietnam, 49% on Cambodia. Now, a little note here again is that yesterday, before the US announced these tariffs, Vietnam said that they will cut all tariffs that they put on US goods coming into their country. But apparently it was too late. It was already printed on these signs. And yeah, so they are facing currently 46%, but maybe they're gonna get eliminated, gonna get deleted because Vietnam just actually erased all the tariffs for US goods coming into the country. But a very important one here. So yeah, many companies moved all their production there to get out of China. And now they're facing a huge amount of tariffs in these 2 other Asian countries as well. And actually Asia is more hit than other continents. The European Union, for example, faces 20%, the UK 10% and so on. But Southeast Asia and Asia are hit badly by these tariffs, which will go into effect in 2 days on the 5th of April. And you could wonder like, okay, why is Canada and Mexico not in these lists of all these countries facing these tariffs? Well, the reason is that Canada and Mexico were already announced. They will face 25% tariffs. Why is Donald Trump doing this on Canada and Mexico? Well, because he wants them to secure the border better for illegal immigrants, for fentanyl, etc., to check that more for illegal aliens coming into the US. He wants to stop that. So it's an instrument to basically also put pressure on the political side of things for securing their border. I think as soon as Canada and Mexico are going to do that a lot better, and they will also erase the tariffs that they put on US goods, then I think they will disappear as well. Now, what is the effect that all these tariffs had on the market? The market was already pricing this in. The market was anticipating on what could come. So what we saw yesterday is that after the announcement, the S&P 500 went down a few percentage points, but it actually mostly just recovered throughout the day, and it even ended the day in green numbers, so 0.7% up. Now, another side note here is that maybe the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, they closed in green numbers, but the futures are looking less good. As you can see, pre-market in the US, they are down 2%, 3%, 3.4% even. Silver also down, by the way, 3.4%. So if we have a look at Europe, they are looking okay. The market is already open there. So they're trading slightly in red, but it's fine. You see that the tariffs that were gonna be put on Europe were already priced in. So not a big shock there. Asia, like I said, is hit more than Europe. So they are seeing like, yeah, less good numbers, let's say 1.3%, 2.9%, 1.5%, the biggest stock markets in Asia. Now, this is actually how it looks like. The shock is okay. Let's see how this further develops throughout the day. The futures in the US, they're not looking too good for the market to open there in a few hours. So let's see how that turns out. But the shock, the big shock on the markets, it is not there anyway, because the market already priced that in sometime before. Because you need to know, financial markets, they hate uncertainty. Now we have at least certainty, even though it's not really good news for a lot of countries. We have at least certainty, and financial markets can manage bad news with certainty. So that's the good thing there, of course. The impact of crypto. Let's have a look at the crypto market here. You see Bitcoin down 1.5%. So they actually dropped on the moment that Donald Trump announced these tariffs. It dropped from nearly 88K to all the way to 82.5K, right now stabilizing just under 84K. Rest of the market, very similar view. They are down, Ethereum 2.5%. Yeah, actually only BNB is up. As you can see, Solana 5%, Dogecoin 4.4%. So all the altcoins are down more than Bitcoin. So again, Bitcoin outperforming altcoins to the downside. Well, I mean, going less down, of course. But yeah, Bitcoin dominance keeps on going up. It is currently already 60%. That is really insane for this stage of the cycle. Now, if you want to know more on these tariffs, what they mean, what the effect will be on the USA, on other countries, on the global economy, on potentially maybe causing a recession, etc., there is a really great post here by Ray Dalio, the legendary investor, of course, known for his all-weather portfolio. Well, he posted this on X, so go check that out on Ray Dalio's account. Read through it because it's very interesting to read. And to see his take on all of that, because you will see a lot of noise currently in the media, on X even, people giving their opinions but having no clue what this is all about. So Ray Dalio, of course, his opinion matters a lot. Very smart man, knows the economy, knows how things work. So yeah, go check that out and read that if you want to know more about that. So what I think will happen in the short term is that the markets will stabilize right now. They have certainty. Of course, the futures don't look good for the Nasdaq, for the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. Also, Asia doesn't look really good. But I think in the next few days, it will stabilize and it will go back up. Like the market will calm down and they will find ways to see like positive sides of it. Maybe like some analysis that it will not be that bad. Etc. For crypto, it's a bit unknown short term, to be honest, how they will react. I think it will follow gold a little bit. And of course, if there's uncertainty, gold is doing well. Bitcoin should also catch up with that. But I think in the midterm, they will basically just do their own thing. Like crypto will just do its own thing. They're pretty independent from all of this. There is no tariffs on crypto, so I think that looks pretty okay. Now, on the longer term, let's say the rest of 2025, how is it looking like for financial markets and for crypto? First of all, I want to show you this chart. This is the last 10 years of the M2 money supply in the US. And you see that it went up dramatically during COVID. And then it topped here in April 2020 and went down again. But right now it's going up. So what does that mean? That means that liquidity will be increased in the economy. If liquidity is going up, that is really good for assets. It's good for financial markets. But on the longer term, this is really good. With some delay, this is really good for risk assets such as crypto. So we see that, for example, here I posted this recently, and we see that the M2 money supply and the Bitcoin price are really following each other pretty well. There is some kind of delay here for most of the times. As you can see, most of the times the Bitcoin price moves up a bit after the M2 money supply goes up, and it follows that really well. So this is the projection of the M2 money supply here after you see that March 2025. They project this to go up dramatically this year. So that would mean that Bitcoin, with some delay, would probably follow this again, as it has always done. So that is the good thing, I think, for the rest of 2025. This is the projection. M2 money supply going up, Bitcoin will follow with some delay. When this will turn around and what this means for altcoins, that's hard to say. That's another analysis that we keep for some other time. But at least Bitcoin should follow this for the rest of the year and get back above 100K if this projection plays out, and if history repeats kind of, or rhymes, let's say, then Bitcoin should be back at 100K. Of course, no financial advice. I don't know exactly what will happen, but it would make a lot of sense if it just does this. Now, the last thing I want to say is that also the interest rates will be cut. And this is maybe also one of the reasons why Trump is doing these tariffs, because he wants maybe the financial markets to be in panic, to go down. That's how he pushes up the bonds. And if the bonds go up, then interest rates go down. And we see that the interest rates were flat, 5.5%. until August, and then in September the first cut was announced, and right now we're sitting at 4.5%. Forecast is that it will go further down this year. That is good for the US to refinance a big part of the debt that they need to refinance, but it's also, like, of course, good for the rest of the economy, for the financial markets to go back up, for more money to come into the system again, of course. So yeah, so that way they can print more money again, and not care too much. But it is important that it will go further down. And I think this might be one of the reasons that Trump is doing these tariffs, not only for geopolitical reasons, because he wants more production and more independency from other countries. He wants more production back in the US, especially with the tensions with Russia, with China, and so on. Right now, he doesn't have enough capacity to just be sustainable without these countries. And I think that's also one of the reasons that he wants to bring it back, in case something happens, that at least they are sustainable without the need of these countries where there are tensions with, right? So that is, of course, one thing, the geopolitical play, the longer term tension play with some not really enemies, but not too friendly countries with the US. And then the second reason is, of course, that they need to refinance this debt. And I think as soon as the geopolitical goals are met, production is coming back to the US, and also as soon as the refinance happens of the debt, then I think the US will actually remove many of these tariffs. And by that time, many other countries will have removed or partially removed the tariffs that they put on the US. So I think these are the goals that Trump are chasing. And I think long term, I see the play that he wants to do, and it makes a lot of sense. But short term, there is still uncertainty. But I think for the rest of 2025, it looks good for crypto, even though these tariffs are gonna be into effect in 2 days. All right, guys, that is it for the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, make sure to be subscribed for more crypto content, and I see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye-bye.